For this project, we are making a line collage. Remember that a collage with paper is specifically when you take small pieces of a larger sheet of paper with a drawing, you cut them up, and we're going to reorganize them to create a new picture. Instead of using that word picture, I'm now going to use the word composition. On your piece of paper, you have 12 boxes, but you have one large composition. Composition is a work of music, literature, or a work of art. It's from corner to corner, edge to edge. That's what a composition is. We're using line to create our composition. As I showed you yesterday, we're going to be using markers. I like it because it has the chiseled tip, because you can make a thin line or you can make a thick line. Notice how I'm not staying inside only one square. I'm using the whole thing because these lines are only for me to cut the paper at the end. So I need you to imagine that those lines aren't there right now and just make one large composition. My example from last year uses all sorts of different lines. You have thick, thin, zigzag, parallel, perpendicular, curved, spiral, dotted, broken, all sorts of different lines. You can always use your anchor chart for line that you created to look back on. Once you get to this point, you need to make sure that you're looking at your composition and you like it. An artist has to like their own work. And what you do after that is you use the borders that I gave you, and you're going to use a pair of scissors and you're going to cut it out. Okay. Make sure that when you cut it out, you're taking your time. You want to cut as neatly as you can along that edge, just like I did. I may have done it a little faster because I've done it a million times. So you got rid of the border, so now you're left with just your composition. So now you have marks, lines from edge to edge. The next step that you're going to do is you're going to cut out each individual square using those lines that I gave you. This time you want to be a little careful and go a little slower because it might be a little bit harder to see those lines, and you want to make sure that you're cutting your squares all evenly so that they match up when you go to move them around. You might notice that I'm actually not moving my scissors on this one. I'm keeping the scissors the same, and I'm moving the paper. That helps me slow down, and that also helps me avoid cutting myself on accident with scissors. Now I'm cutting out the individual squares, And I'm not worried about them being in the same spot than before, because now I want them to be random. This is all in black and white. If you want to do yours in color, you can. If you want to do black with one color, you can do that. If you want to do 2 colors, 3 colors, all colors, that's up to you. That's an artistic choice that you need to make. Okay, I'm done with my scissors. I'm gonna set those aside. Now I have all 12 of my pieces right here. So what I want to do is I just want to move them around in different places, because I'm starting to build new connections with lines. And this is where you're going to experiment. I don't want you to just place them in one spot and then be done, because that's not interesting. You could be experimenting by making new connections, make a bunch of different shifts, turn squares, switch squares, see if you can build new lines or maybe end old lines. So as an example, you already see some things are starting to happen here. For example, I used to have a really, really thick line that went this way. It's now gone because I have all these little chunks in random places, and that helps me look around more and actually appreciate the art more. But you'll notice some lines come through, some lines end. Sometimes you're left with a nice open negative space that is not used. It's up to you. But at this point, you should be reorganizing over and over and over again. Maybe you want to exchange one square with a neighbor, and that might give your artwork a new look. That's up to you. That is an artistic choice. Once you have a composition you're happy about, you'll be able to get a new sheet of paper, and this is gonna keep the grid. You're not gonna cut this one at all. This one's gonna stay exactly the way it is, and then you're simply just gonna take your pieces and you're gonna take a glue stick and you're gonna glue them and place it right on that square exactly where you want it to be. And then you just continue to glue and place and glue and place. If they're off just a little bit like this, that's okay. I'm not totally worried about that. Try to be as neat as you can. Glue it nice and neat. No smudges. Craftsmanship. If you have any questions throughout the project, if you need any help from me, you know that you can ask me with a raised hand. I'll be floating around and checking out your work as you go along. All right, good luck.